Hello, it is 510 week number 5. 5. So this week, really straightforward, super simple. Only discussion board this week. The discussion board looks at what you just submitted, share with the class 2 important lessons you learned from the interview. How'd it go? How do you feel about that? You feel good? One thing I've been wondering about myself is what's the educator version of interviewing other educators? Love the idea of an origin story type thing where you could learn why people you look up to in the education world became the person they became, how they start off becoming an educator, what was their origin story. I feel like that might be an interesting podcast. You started that kind of with this. I don't know if you recorded audio or not. If so, knock it out as a podcast. That's your first one. So you're going to share what that's about. A few of you already jumped on a little bit early and shared some stuff because it dovetails so nicely in with your assignment from last week. So that's the only thing that's due. Reminder, initial post Thursday, 2 thoughtful replies by Sunday. And then the rest of week 5 is just looking at the readings, outcomes, messages, topics. The idea is kind of looking ahead to your personal leadership plan. So I would strongly encourage you to jump ahead to assignments 4 and 5, looking at your servant leader skills analysis. And then the final, I think the final one, I should double check. Let's go to assignments. Wait for the page to load. Yeah, so assignment number 5, personal leadership plan, due by the end, middle of week 8. It's actually Wednesday of week 8. So look ahead to those. You'll see that this kind of leads you up to that. Those are both bigger projects, so definitely start thinking about them. If not, get started on them now. Take advantage of the lighter week. Part of what you have this week is you're continuing with your Learning Leadership book. There's also an article from Harvard Business Review, and for me, that was actually paywalled. So if it's paywalled for you, let me just summarize it because I found ways around it. It's 10, 11 and a half years old. So there's abstracts and previews and other summaries online. So the idea is that purpose-driven leadership matters. I have notes here, so you're just gonna gotta look up and look down. That it's, I'll start over, right? Purpose-driven leadership matters. It's not just about inspiring language. We're gonna do a thing and I'm a leader and say inspiring stuff. So it's not that, but actually that matters because it's central to exceptional performance, to well-being, and most importantly, to sustained leadership impact. And it goes into some of the drivers behind that and how purpose really just pushes good leadership. If you're without purpose, and not just mission and vision of your school, your organization, but personally, what is your purpose? You tend to not have sustained impact. The second thing is that the article shares that fewer than 20% of leaders can clearly articulate their own personal purpose. And the idea is what's your personal purpose, which is separate from your school or your organization's purpose or mission. And further from that, even if you could articulate your own personal purpose, even fewer people could articulate that into action. So it's one thing to say, this is why my school or my district or my organization exists. This is its purpose. Rare to say, here's what my purpose is. Even rarer to say, here's how I put that into action. I used to try doing this with my annual goals as director of technology. It was here's kind of our schools or senior leadership teams kind of goals, maybe our school's 5-year plan. I would have that and then break it down to different leadership goals of colleagues, and then below that be here are my goals, and then below that here's action items for that. And I think I did enough practice in that kind of earlier that I don't do that now. I just kind of think I do have this kind of system of how do I, what does my day-to-day look like? How does that fit in with my purpose in life and here at school? And then above that, how does that fit in with our school's purpose? And it's also not, I would encourage you not to have it be just you and your job, like your career, your vocation, your life is more than that. Also, on the other side, you are not your job. So like this isn't to define you, but it is a way to, as you are growing into the leader that you can be, think about like, what does my purpose look like? And it doesn't have to be like from the company that gives me a paycheck, right? Simple enough. Could be ways you're sharing stuff on social media or LinkedIn. Could be ways that you're blogging or podcasting. You have that new podcast. I apologize for that. What was that? I don't know. It could be ways that you're presenting at conferences, ways that you're working with local nonprofits, possibly looking at joining various education boards. There's lots of ways you could do this where it's not just you and your job, but looking at like a possible way kind of forward from you throughout the rest of the course, and certainly beyond this course, is like what's next for you leadership wise. How do you step into that leadership role? The last thing the article talks about is a framework for leaders to identify their purpose, and they look at it through life's themes, passions, and values. And then the article looks at a purpose to impact plan, which is vaguely similar to what you're going to be doing for your 5th assignment. So don't worry if you weren't able to read that, because your final assignment is going to kind of walk you through a version of that. And the idea of this kind of bigger picture that they share at the end of the article is the plan is not supposed to be like kind of generic like business or edu speak, but actually be like meaningful for you on a personal level. So that is the article from Craig and Snook, and the idea is to like act on these items so that you have the purpose and the action, and it's not just like a vague kind of thing. So that's what that article is about. I talked about your discussion board and the article. Look ahead to your assignments. Anything else on week 5? I think that is all. Yeah, that is it. Reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, hope you enjoy kind of the lighter week 5. Gives you a chance to look ahead to weeks 6, 7, and 8.